I'm very glad that all of you are here, each one of you, so precious. Just sense what is already here. It's always here, silently aware, not a thought, presence of awareness. Relax into being. No practice, no effort, no time. Sense the silence within, a silence that is absolutely still, immovable, yet vibrant and alive, radiant, self luminous. Listen to the silence. If the attention is wandering to thoughts, just the recognition of it pulls the attention, withdraw the attention away from thoughts, if, especially if there's no interest in the thoughts themselves. And I can guide a little bit of the power meditation, and you just absorb it. I choose to let go of all negativity within the self. I choose to fix the attention on that which is aware. I choose to abide eternally as the self. I choose to let go of all judgment. I choose to let go of all criticism once it is noticed. I choose to let go of all beliefs and set myself free. I choose real happiness, which is prior to any thought. I choose to let go of any addiction within. I choose to let go of the addiction to thinking. After every statement, just remain with the sense felt experience. I choose to let go happily from any negative emotion. I choose to let go of any resistance that arises within. I choose to let go of any fear when it is noticed. I choose letting go, being enslaved by the mind. I choose to direct the thought as an instrument back to the self. I choose to take responsibility for anything that arises within thought, feeling, sensations. I choose letting go, complaining. I choose letting go the need for being right. I choose letting go any resistance within. I choose being clear. I choose approaching confusion with clarity. I choose bringing light into the darkness. I choose letting go any tension within. I choose eternal peace. I choose being thought free. I choose letting go any negativity within. I choose being aligned with what is real within. I choose living harmoniously and happily. I choose letting go any destructive pattern that arises within. I choose remove the imperfection and remain as perfection itself. I choose to approach every thought and emotion with kindness and compassion. I choose being gentle and kind. I choose being open, spontaneous, and free. I choose sincerity and honesty. I choose being open and direct. I choose letting go any manipulation within. I choose living fearlessly. I choose letting go everything that is not absolutely real. I choose being light-hearted. I choose living the embodiment of truth. I choose existence, consciousness, bliss. Sense what is immovable within you. never moves, always here, not a thought, neither a feeling. Anyone can know it directly because it is you. Can stop. Let me read some small paragraph. One moment. A cube of ice. A cube of ice placed into water has temporary existence. Before it acquired the form, it was water. It then took form for a while and ultimately merges back into its source. Yet at no time was the ice cube separate from water, despite the fact that it may seem so. In this regard, one must come to discern what is from what seems to be. I'll repeat it again. A cube of ice placed into water has temporary existence. Before it acquired the form, it was water. It then took form for a while and ultimately merges back into its source. Yet, at no time was the ice cube separate from water, despite the fact that it may seem so. In this regard, one must come to discern what is from what seems to be. If anybody has questions regarding what was heard, you can freely ask. If no questions, what we can do is again cover a little bit from last week practices. If anybody has questions, some of you are communicating via email, which is very good, sharing the shifts or the changes once you begin the practice, what to really shift so you can continue. Again, I invite the ones who took the practice on themselves is to now move to the next week, or now maybe for 3 weeks stick with the practice if it works for you. If it doesn't, change. And if you need any guidance and help, you can ask right now. Anybody that is new for the first time, I would recommend to listen to the past webinar about practices, and maybe it would resonate for one to take a practice so they can weave it into their daily life and make it a way of life to build foundations, be more alert, more awake, see how the mind plays all kind of tricks, be watchful, alert, awake in the waking state. One has to realize that anything that you are conscious of is not you. Anything that I am aware of is not who I am. So when I'm aware of the bodily sensation, that implies I'm not the bodily sensation. When I'm aware of emotion, that implies I am not the emotion. When I'm aware of thoughts appearing and disappearing, that's a proof that I am not a thought. So Denise asked, what was I, what, who are you reading? I was reading uh, Behind the Mind of Wushin. Yes. It seems, Denise asked, it seems difficult to look within with my eyes open. Is it just as effective to close the eyes? It doesn't really matter right now whether the eyes are open or closed. What's essential is what works for you. Ramana mentioned when the mind is strong means either the concentration builds up and the mind doesn't wander so much. That means the attention is more withdrawn. It is easier to stay with the eyes open and recognize who you are. From experience, when I start recognizing who I am, it was much easier with the eyes open versus closed. It constantly changes. So, what I mean changes is the position of the physical eyes. At times, I just closing the eyes and I still aware of that which is aware. And when the eyes are open, I am aware of that which is aware. I am not aware of something. I am aware that I am aware. Therefore, the most important is there is no struggle and you find the path of least resistance. So if one is tired and they're drawn to close the eyes, close your eyes. You're drawn to open your eyes, open your eyes. Experiment and see what works for you best. This is why I invited anyone to just relax. And if they want to, they can just close the eyes or stay with the eyes open. I hope that was clear enough. Vidya, mind does not become still for even a full minute. after the question is asked, but I want to continue the practice. Any suggestions? Thank you. First of all, it's very good you're sharing. So what happens, the mind has to mature, and that's what they call a qualified aspirant. Mature means that when you question in order to gain, you have an agenda, and then the mind springs forth right away, so it checks. So if I question because I want to gain, I want to quiet the mind for 1 full minute or 30 seconds, or even just to be silent, then the mind is coming back to check. It's just a trick. So a qualification is, in the Viveka, he's talking about 4 qualifications which I can share. The first one is the ability to discern between what's real and what's not real, between thoughts and awareness, which is prior to thoughts, behind the thoughts. So discrimination is the first one. The second one is aversion to the enjoyment of the fruits of one's action now and later. Again, aversion to the enjoyment of the fruits of one's action now and later. That means is taking action without getting attached to the outcome. So questioning is an inner action. If you get attached to the outcome, the mind will come back to check, hey, did I get what I wanted? So it creates a disturbance. The mind comes back. It's like a dog chasing its own tail, yes, thinking it's someone else's tail. So this is why a qualification that is really essential is aversion to the enjoyment of the fruits of one's action now and later. Let me just explain what it is pointing. It is pointing for one to recognize that the moment you ask a question because you want to have no thoughts, you notice that you're asking the question in order to gain something instead of just asking the question. That will reveal within you that there is a subtle notion of me, a separate entity that wants to gain something through the practice. Instead, giving the mind a practice, so it practice, you have no relationship with the mind which practice. Because who you are never moves. It never has a practice. It only knows itself. So that's the second qualification. The third one is a clear mind. They call it sattvic mind, which has a different qualities of compassion and dispassion. There is the ability to shift the attention, calmness, because the mind is resting in awareness, the ability to discriminate, forgiveness, straightforwardness, honesty, absence of pride, being sincere, and the fourth is the yearning for liberation, intense desire for liberation. So the intense desire for liberation is actually the first one. That first one leads the mind to seek the self, leads the mind to seek a master, a guru, an awakened being. And then when the mind is exposed to knowledge, about one's true nature, that who you are is changeless awareness, the boundless space of awareness, that who you are has no shape, no name. It never had a thought. It only knows itself by itself. Discrimination starts to be awakened. Discriminating between who you are, which is real, and who you take yourself to be, which is a conceptual image of yourself. So the intense desire leads, for one, into the quest back to yourself. Discrimination awakens, and then the ability to take action without getting attached. And here we're talking about inner action, mental action. Questioning is an inner action. Concentrating the mind is an inner action. And that purifies the mind. And when the mind is purified, the sattvic qualities remain. There are three aspects of the mind that they alternate continuously. It's between the clear mind, sattvic mind, the veiling, which is tamasic mind, aspect of the mind, and projection, which is an activity of the mind, which is rajasic. So the mind can be rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic at any given time. The thing is that the false identification in the mind is with the tamasic and the rajasic, the veiling and the projection. So the moment the mind veils who you are, it projects who you think you are, who you take yourself to be, who you believe yourself to be. So when discrimination is happening, it removes the veiling and the projection. So one can say the projection merges into the veiling into the clarity, and clarity is into the source. So for the awakened being, what remains is the clear mind. The clear mind is clear like water. So the presence of yourself shines through that mind, just like clear skies. So question without getting attached to the outcome. That's the answer for Vidya and for all of you. William, this week I took the practice of noticing negativity. I've been noticing that, and with it, reactivity. My life circumstances at this time are very, very intense. Please help to understand how to relax in the face of tremendous fear and negativity. First, start to realize that life is just an instant moment, moving or flowing from moment to moment. It appears like there is continuous life. Life is not continuous. The only notion that creates continuity is memory. So memory creates the illusion of continuity, and therefore I call my life as something that is continuous, which is not true. It's just a single moment and flowing from moment to moment to moment. So when one generalizes their life as continuous, then it's much more heavy, because moments you might have fear, and the next moment you have clarity regarding that fear, and the moment you're clear regarding the fear, then there's clarity. Let's say there is reactivity and you clear around the reactivity, and if you're aware of the reactivity, that implies that you are not the reactivity itself. It comes into the surface to free itself, because anything that is trapped is yearning to release itself. And when it is released, it comes and it is seen by the light of awareness. And it is seen and it is then freed instantaneously. Yet the moment there's resistance, wanting it to be different, there is a hidden attachment to the reactivity or the fear. So you can check even in this moment, what is your life circumstances? Without any story. And you leave the memory aside just for an instant. Without a thought, what is your life circumstances? Honestly, check right now. And I invite everyone to check within them. Without a thought, what is their life circumstances? So at this moment, there is no problem. Yes, of course, there is no problem. Anything that arises within you and anything that appears surrounds you on the circumstances level, what we can say life, doesn't really affect you, doesn't affect even your mind. Your mind reacts to what it is interpreting that is happening externally. So the mind is reacting to its own interpretation. An object never affects a thought. A thought is reacting to another thought that is no longer there. And usually what is reacting to a thought that is no longer there is a thought that we call me, I, that has a sense felt of density, of physical. Just be courageous enough to witness it. Look at it without a story, without labeling it good, bad. Just witness it like a movie. Watch a movie without any preference, without any judgment, without any resistance. Explore that. This is an invitation, not just an empty thought to give you a solution. You are the solution. You are the only solution. And when I say you, is that which is aware, not the story that appears within awareness. I'm aware it is challenging. Through challenging, awakening takes place. Because you start withdrawing from what is challenging, which is your stories, your thoughts, your ideas, your belief, which is beliefs are just thoughts that repeatedly thinking over and over again. So the moment you say you have your situation is you have problem, or my life circumstances at this time are very, very intense, then you believe it, and then you gotta fix it. The more you're gonna witness it and withdraw the attention from it, the more awareness or the self would shine through you, and it would take care of everything that is needed for the apparently you. Maybe you want to change a different practice around negativity that would be much more active mentally. Think about it, and I'll read some more comments of other or questions. William's answer: wow, Alon, I recognize you're telling the truth. I'm just pointing at the truth. The truth cannot be told or spoken, because the truth is absolutely silent and still within everyone. It's very nice, William, that you're honest and sincere. I really appreciate this. Valsa, hello, Alon. How do you do your best at your job, career, while knowing that it is not real? And a similar question, how do you do your best at anything while remaining in the self? What's not real is not the job. Let me clarify something. Nobody can deny an experience as not real, because experience is real. You cannot deny an experience. It's always the experience of the self when it is stripped and naked from thoughts and emotions. Yet the moment thoughts appear and there is false identification which generates an emotion, then the experience of the self is mixed with thought or belief and emotion together. So when the emotion and the thought is removed, the experience remains pure. Yet any denial of an experience, anyone can try right now. You might have an experience and then think this experience is not real. Yet notice that the experience and that thought are not the same. the thought appears in the field of experience without an entity that claims I am experiencing it, without the experiencer. So, how do you do your best at your job, career? When I think it's my job and it's my career, that's a story that my mind is projecting or telling itself. Let's say I'm in a job and I don't have any thoughts regarding it. Do I know where I am? Even right now, for all of you, without a thought, do you know where you are? There would be thoughts that appear. I'm in my house. I'm in this place and this place. I am sitting. Without these thoughts, you don't even know. So use your job to direct the attention. Be focused. Be full-hearted. Be aware with the resistance, reactivity. Follow what resonates within you. It's like your real job is to question your mind, question the thoughts. The outer job is just a metaphor. It's just a show that you will remember what is the what is your real job. And your real job is to discriminate, to discern between thoughts and that which is permanent within you, that is always watching through the eyes, hearing through the ears, yet it never has a thought about what is being heard. It never has a thought about the impression that comes through the eyes. It never has a preference. That's your real job. Because if you start to discriminate the world is not real, then you validate that there is a world. And when you have a thought like that, how do you do your best at your job? Then your job becomes an enemy for you. Then it creates a conflict, which that's exactly what the ego thrives on. It thrives on conflict. It thrives and flourishes on problems. Because it creates them. It has a love-hate relationship with it. It loves to create the problem and it hates the problem after it creates it. So now it loves to find a solution for it. And on it moves like that. So all the attention is given to it. And when the attention is given to it, it appears to be real. So I can approach it in another way. If it's too much and not practical, let me bring it more into the earth, more practical. Still with Valsa, with the question. And you can take it to any place for each one of you in your life. More practical means when you're at your job, be more anchored, be more present. And when your mind doesn't like something, just watch it and choose to let go of it. So you come to be more in that instant. It's a single moment. Stay with a single moment in harmony, because that will show you how much you're disharmonious in the job. And what creates disharmony for the ego is should and shouldn't. It shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be here. It should be totally different. The people here should be different. That people shouldn't behave that way. And on and on and on. It's always should and shouldn't, which takes your attention from harmony to disharmony, from peace to restlessness, reactivity, tension, conflict. So that's the best you can. It's like, it's just to clarify for you, Valsa, and for everyone. How do you do your best at anything while remaining in the self? I don't try to remain in the self. I am already the self. Trying to remain in the self that validates that I am other than the self, that I am a separate entity, which is real, that has to gain the self now. So it shifted, and now it objectified the self to gain like anything else the mind can and wants to gain. Just watch that so you can recognize how elusive the mind is. It appears to be real and it is not real. It appears that it's going to gain the self. It's never going to gain the self. So you watch that one who wants to gain. And as you watch it, without judging it, without reacting to it, without resisting it, watching, at a certain point, something within you will lose the interest in it. So the attention would shift from it and would collapse into yourself. Calling. That's for the other question before. Yes, no problem. Maria, life is just circumstances. Yes, we can say life is just circumstances. Yet every circumstance is perceived every moment. So it's not continuous. The continuity is just what the mind dreams, or I would say what we dream personally and collectively. Suresh. Is the practice that the mind took up last week necessary when the silence is perceived to be done again and again? When there is silence, all there is silence. Even when thoughts appear and disappear and the silence is you. then there's no need to practice anything. Yet the vasanas will come up into the surface and the false identity will appear. And that's where the practice is useful. So the practice is just like an analogy of a lost dog, and the owner brings the dog back to the house, back home. So the practice has to bring the mind back to yourself, back into the silence. The practice is not to gain or cultivate any state of mind which is temporary, including temporary silence, which is okay. Yet don't be deceived by that either. Yet it can be a very good motivator for many, because it will motivate the mind to come back to yourself. The nature of the mind, this is in Vashista, Yoga Vashista, the nature of the mind is to seek itself in order to dissolve into the self. So as you question, as you seek even the mind dissolves into you. This is why when you're going to look for the thought and there's enough presence and you're truly looking for the thought disappears. Yet you remain because you are thought free. You never had even one single thought. A single thought appears within you. And when I say you, not you as someone, not you as an individual, not you as form, you as boundless, eternal, space. So just the mind. So sometimes, Suresh, if I'm pronouncing it right, sometimes the mind, it's very convenient for it to still run the show, and there would be glimpses of silence. And then the mind, a part of the mind will say, no, don't practice. No practice. It's not good for you. Or will react, and it will be given the attention to the reactivity, and you would listen to that. Use your highest intelligence. Just be honest and sincere. That's all I have to say. And if you have more questions regarding that, we can open it and take a look. Valsa, thank you. I understand. When does the collapse happen? So again, it's all mind. It wants to figure out something that is not present to be aware of. If it can figure it out, the mind is such elusive that it can generate and creates a similar experience of awareness to make it objectify and says, I am realized, I gained it. Oh, you see, this is who I am. So just be aware of that. There was one sage in India. He was living in Tiruvannamalai. He was physically older than Ramana. He recognized Ramana for the ones who you know. And he said, he pointed even, take good care of this boy, Ramana. And he was very simple. He was moving from village to village, sharing the knowledge. And his say was, keep giving up until there's nothing to give up. Then what remains is the self. So that was his thing. Keep giving up, keep giving up, keep giving up, keep letting go until there's nothing to let go. Then what remains is yourself, because you cannot let go of yourself. So take it into your heart. There's a lot of wisdom, and that sentence itself, that guidance itself, has knowledge within for one to continue to discriminate, to discern what appears to be themselves from their real self. Carol, in previous satsangs you have said something is being transmitted. What did you mean? You tell me, what are you sensing right now? Before you even answer, check what's going on within you. What are you sensing? As beings, physical, living beings, and we can look at these words. The living is not the being, and the being is not living. So when there is life, living, a physical form, and there is no identification with the thoughts, then the being is not separate from the living, the physical form. Then being is radiating, transmitting through the living being, through the physical form. This is why it is so rare, and this is grace for one to realize who they are, remove all what they believe to be themselves, and remain living, being, living, being, living the being the living, being, living. And we all transmitters all the time. What do I mean? When you're emotional, you're transmitting this emotion energetically, vibrationally, because we are vibration beings. The self is pure vibration, vibrating on the highest vibration, the fastest vibration. Stillness is faster than any movement. So it vibrates on the fastest vibration, the most subtle and the most fastest vibration. From this vibration, all vibrations are starting to move and form thoughts, matter, which are thoughts too. So you can probably you've been in a relationship that somebody has negativity, and you check what's going on for you, and and the person said nothing is going on, nothing is going on. Yet you sense the whole vibration is closed. The whole vibration is trapped. Yes. So people can think, yet the vibration doesn't lie. The emotion, or if somebody is negative, it's emitting a particular vibration frequency. Is that helpful? Also, when you identify as yourself, not as a separate entity, the words that are coming from is from the self. So the self is actually speaking to the self within you. And the word is like a carrier. So when the word comes in and is absorbed, you can remain aware as self. Usually, when it's the egoic pattern speaks, it meets another egoic pattern, and they start to be in conflict with each other. That's what being transmitted at that moment. This is why if you still argue with anybody, if you still want to be right, catch, and as you catch it, choose to let go of it and drop. Step out mentally from this engagement. Disengage yourself and notice that the other cannot continue if there's no one there to participate with. This is when you apply it in real time. And you might notice in the beginning that the notion of the egoic pattern wanting to be right doesn't want to let go of it. It doesn't want to drop out. So it will continue a little bit longer. If there is enough light, inner light within you, it will remove the darkness and it will stop. So any pattern within, the faster anyone can disengage from it, the faster it loses the power. Because it's a power that took over the self, although the self remains changeless and unaffected. This is the power of superimposition. It superimposes itself on the self and asserts itself on the self because the self has no preference, is unaffected. It doesn't really care. So it takes the stage. It takes to be the front instead of the self being the front. Just as an analogy, it jumps ahead of the self because the self is behind, because the superimposition is in the mind as thoughts, and thoughts appear after you. You as self is always prior to thoughts. It's like anybody who's sensitive, or there's enough sensitivity, that means purification happens. You just like tune into the frequency of that which is aware. It's the same aware everywhere. It is within the body, it is outside the body, it is everywhere. There is no place it is not. So you tune into the frequency of that which is aware within, and the words do not disturb you. And the thoughts do not affect you. Yet it has to be experienced, not theoretical understanding. Colin, self prior to thoughts is clear, but prior to the body, more tricky. So that's something one has to start contemplate. Everyone, if it's not clear for anyone or everyone here, please take this for contemplation. Is the body within the mind, or the mind is within the body? Is the world within the mind, or the mind is within the world? And I'm not looking for an answer from anyone. You stay with this question until it is clear. And once it's clear, forgetfulness will set in possibly. And then you would have to reflect upon it again. Is the body within the mind, or the mind is within the body? When, for the majority of people, from outward inwardly, from external inwardly, it appears that the mind is in the body. Yet is it? I invite you to explore that, and not to give an answer to somebody else, to have the realization within you anytime you examine it. Realize it for the first time, until this realization being stable within you. These are very, very good questions. Everyone who shared here today, this is jewels for everyone. This is a jewel for me. Because it's the same mind playing different tricks, having different doubts. All the doubts have to be removed. And there are layers of doubts. So if you have doubt regarding who you are, these doubts have to be removed by one who has no doubt. A doubt cannot be removed by the one who has the doubt. The doubt can be removed by the one who has no doubt. Vidya, sages speak of waking sleep, the state of perfect awareness and perfect stillness combined. Always yearning for this. Can you give us a glimpse of this? When you think that you're someone, and then you think there is another, this is already the separation from yourself. So, can I give you a glimpse of this? When I revealed within you, that's when you meet me. When you realize you realize me. Not as what you perceive me to be, as someone, somebody, person. So, for the sage does two things without doing anything. It pushes the mind of the seeker in and pulls the mind of the seeker from within. And that's what's happening here. Can you give some advice from inner sound? I think I have tinnitus. I don't know what is tinnitus. My hearing has been checked and I don't have a hearing problem. I was told I was just perceiving this sound. When I'm more aware, then the sound is even more amplified, like now, listening to you. That's good. Fix the attention on the sound and use the sound as an entry point into silence. Like I invite all of you right now, listen to a particular noise, any noise, and be so intently aware of the noise that the thought disappears. Explore that. Was this helpful? The body is not limitation for you to realize who you are, Maria. It just you're not just a physical form. Who you are is that which perceives the physical form. Without a thought. You're listening to, you're looking for silence from your mind. What you're looking for is where you're looking from. And the one who is being frustrated is seen by you. This is where I suggest that each one of you start to recognize the inner stillness within. Anna Maria, I'm going to try this, fixing the attention on the ringing of the ears, which I have too. Everybody have ringing in the ears. And if you haven't noticed, when you go to a place that is really silent or acoustic room or in the desert when there's no wind, you hear really beeping sound in your ears, because anything that is perceived through the ear is always noise. If we separate, break it apart, body is noise, mind is sound, and self, source, which is you, is silence. Noise is always perceived through the senses. Sound is only in the mind as thoughts. And silence is a field which is boundless, which is you. And within this field of silence, sound appears and noise is perceived. Don't look for silence in the external perception. Don't look for silence in the mind. Silence is looking at sound and noise and remains silently aware. Find this inner stillness right now. This is the invitation. Because as you hear these words, and as these words are spoken, there's inner silence that never moves. The only reason it is not recognized, because the attention habitually goes to thoughts and goes to sense, to the objects of perception, which are the objects of the world. Habitually, they just going too much out. It's like the same if we take a projector light and then we have images that are the images projected on a screen. The light that goes through the image enable for the image to be projected upon the screen. In this analogy, we can say that the screen is the world, the circumstances, and the projection are the thoughts, and the lights that illuminates the image all the way to the circumstances of the world is yourself. The light is not affected by the images that it illuminates. So if the image is a particular picture, the light just illuminates it. It doesn't really care because it's always self-luminous. It's always give light. And when an image appears, a thought appears, the light illuminates the thought, that projection. Yet the projection is just a thought, and when it moves from one thought to the other, it turns to be a movie. And when it turns to be a movie, it looks totally real, like there is life in the movie. When we sit in a cinema theater, the light doesn't move. The images that are projected are moving before or ahead of the light, from the light's point of view. And the light just goes through the image. If it's one image, it's a frozen image. Every thought is a frozen image. Yet the image starts to move from one to another really quickly. Then there's a movie, and suddenly the movie appears to have life. This is what happens with the projections of the mind. Yet you are the light which illuminates every thought. And that light is silence, same. Silence is self-luminous. It illuminates every thought that is made from sound. Tahaya, Tahia, Tah. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Welcome. Dear Alon, I've been feeling a lot of vibration in my face and energetic heart. Should I be aware of that while meditating or just being? So you're already aware of it. If you stay with that, the mind will very quickly react to it. Or sink into it and dissolve into yourself. Either way, you never know. And what can come is the mind creates a story out of this. This is what it does with feelings. Feelings are just a sensation, yet the mind labels them feelings, and then it labels it good or bad. So if it's good, it wants more. If it's bad, it wants to get rid of, which both is a form of reactivity of the mind. So Focus on when there is a thought or absence of thought. So give all the attention, let's say, to the vibration and rest. So you leave the vibration alone. So the vibration and that which is aware are one. So there is not aware of vibration. That's when awareness and vibration merge, or vibration and awareness merge without a thought. All these are pointers for one to have a direct experience of it. So you allow the words to take in and the pointers to take in, and then the realization will set in by itself. I hope that was helpful. I had the intention also to go over about awakening the intense desire for liberation. If anybody have one more question, and if not, I can read few paragraphs. William, are you saying that the mind is one? The mind is one. And that's everyone's experience. It's like, is there any other mind other than the mind that appears within yourself? The mind appears within yourself, and then a thought is formed that is called I, me, as separate. And this thought, I, claims to the mind to be his, my mind. And the moment it moves to my mind, because that part of the mind is multiplicity, it already says my mind is related to my body. So it perceives many other forms, infinite shapes and forms. So it says my mind and their mind, me, you, this as a physical, that, this body, this world. Yes? So your experience is that you have only your mind, and in your mind, because that's multiplicity already, you created me and many others. And this is part of the mind that is always outward bent and going out. The mind that is a higher mind that goes inwardly, basically knows only one mind. So even what we call universal mind is within the individual mind, which is actually in one mind that appears within the self. The mind has no boundaries like the physical form. So we can say that it is like stars in the space. So every star is a thought, and it's all in one space. So every star, though, is connected to all the stars. So it's one mind in one space. Yet one has to realize it within themselves. And the way one has to realize it is to go within. The only way is to go within to realize yourself. There is no other way. And some say the only way out is in, and it is the truth. So when you go in, you can realize it from within, not from without, from an external. So all the thoughts are not yours, because anything that you're aware of is not you. And because you are the one who is aware of thoughts, you are not the thoughts, you are that which is aware. That's a proof. Know this firmly, unshakably, undoubtedly. And that's when the attention will withdraw from the thoughts. The moment you would truly realize that the thoughts are not you, you will leave the thoughts alone and the attention will return to you instead of going out to thoughts and objects of perception. And this is for everyone. We are all the same, and we just appear to be different. That's not the truth. What is different is only the name and the form. Yet you're nameless, formless, changeless, boundless. So I'll just begin a little bit. The desire for liberation. Awakening the extremely intense desire for liberation is the most important first step that can be taken towards being liberated now in this lifetime. We talked 4 qualifications today for a qualified aspirant. And the first one, the ability to discern, discriminate between what's real and what's not real, thoughts and awareness, thoughts and yourself. Second is aversion to the enjoyment of the fruits of one's action, now and later. Means taking action without being attached to any outcome. Third is pure sattvic mind, clear mind that can discriminate. And fourth is the yearning for liberation. Yet the yearning, which is an intense desire, a one-pointed desire, an urge, which is a life force, is the first one that leads the whole journey. And as the journey is being taken, for the mind to return to yourself, it will meet what is not yourself and merge into yourself. Awakening the extremely intense desire for liberation is the most important first step that can be taken towards being liberated now in this lifetime. The extremely intense desire for liberation is the extremely intense desire for the direct experience of the absolute truth. The extremely intense longing for the ending of sorrow and the experience of eternal joy, eternal bliss. The extremely intense desire to experience who or what you really are at your core and live eternally as your true self. The extremely intense desire for freedom from all illusion and delusion, and freedom from the ego, which is the source of all illusion and delusion. The extremely intense desire to awaken from the human nightmare. The extremely intense desire for liberation is the foundation of all true spirituality. Of all the factors that determine if you will or will not be free, the intensity or lack of intensity of your desire for liberation is the most essential factor. By the way, I didn't write it. Whatever you can do to most effectively increase your desire for liberation should be done. Spiritual teachings are not all equal. Some teachings are essential, powerful keys. The knowledge that increasing your desire for liberation is the most effective first step you can take is an essential, powerful key. All obstacles that appear in your journey to freedom are caused by too little desire for freedom. Even a little increase in your desire for freedom is helpful. As your desire for freedom grows in intensity, the ego creates fewer obstacles. When your desire for freedom becomes very intense, your desire for freedom demands that you take no detours. When your desire for freedom becomes extremely intense, for the first time you can see what is essential for freedom and what is not essential. When your desire for freedom is weak, the ego does not allow you to see its preservation strategies. When the desire for freedom is stronger, you can begin to see the ego's preservation strategies. When the desire for freedom becomes even stronger, the desire for freedom itself will bring you everything you need to succeed in your quest for liberation, including the answer to all your questions, the direct path teachings, the solution to all obstacles, the motivation to practice, etc. You will be able to see how before the awakening of the extremely intense desire for liberation, the ego selected spiritual teachings that would help to preserve the ego. When the desire for freedom becomes even more intense, you can see all of the ego's preservation strategies. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will marvel at how it was possible you did not see. You did not see the ego's preservation strategies before. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will be able to see how the ego distorted even the direct path teachings. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will be able to see that almost every spiritual teaching from the past has been distorted by the ego, and that almost all spiritual teachings are created by the ego for the purpose of preserving the ego. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will be able to see that almost all of the spiritual and religious teachings of the past are distractions and detours that serve the ego. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will be surprised at how little the ego let you see before. When the extremely intense desire for liberation is awakened, you will see the endless maze of concepts the ego created to trap your attention. When the desire for freedom becomes even more intense, the ego will no longer create ego preservation strategies. The extremely intense desire for the direct experience of the absolute truth will guide you to your inner teacher. The extremely intense desire for truth will guide you to the practice that gives the direct experience of eternal bliss. The key is the intensity of the desire for the direct experience of the absolute truth. Increasing your desire for the truth is the most important first step. Increasing your desire for freedom is essential. Without an increase in your desire for freedom, all of your attempts at awakening will fail to produce the eternal experience. Without an increase in your desire for freedom, the ego will distort all of your spiritual studies, including what you read in this book and you hear right now. Without an increase in your desire for freedom, the ego will never allow you to see the truth. Another great key is self-honesty. Self-honesty will help in all aspects of the quest for liberation. Self-honesty will help you increase your desire for liberation. Self-honesty is being as honest as you can be. Self-honesty means to be 100% honest with yourself at all times. Catch your ego using ego preservation strategies. See your ego creating arguments that lead you away from the direct path. What if your desire for liberation were to double from its present level? If your desire for liberation were to double from its present level, that would be a huge help. If your desire for liberation were to double from its present level, immediately you would begin to see what you have never been able to see before. What if your desire for liberation was more intense than the energy of 1,000,000,000,000 stars? Even if your desire for liberation only doubles or triples, great changes will occur in what the ego allows you to see. When your desire for liberation increases greatly, every moment of your life will be dedicated to your liberation. That great intense desire for liberation will demand that you do not waste even one moment of time, that you stop the ego lies, and that you drop that which is not essential. The wonderful thing is that same extreme desire for liberation that brings you the knowledge of what is essential and what is not essential also allows you to see for the first time in your life. Before the extremely intense desire for freedom arises, you think you can see, but really you are blind. After the extremely intense desire for freedom arises, all is made clear and you have no doubts. After the extremely intense desire for freedom arises, for the first time you can see. If the extremely intense desire for liberation does not arise in you, the words in this book will be of little or no real benefit to you. The ego will interpret what is written and heard in this book that you are now reading or hearing. The ego will create arguments against what is written here. Instead of seeing what you read literally, without any interpretation, the ego will begin to interpret. The ego will change the teachings into something that preserves the ego instead of something that brings the ego to its final end. Therefore, the most essential key is to awaken the extremely intense desire for liberation and to make that desire for freedom grow every day. One of the most powerful tools or keys you can have is to change the way you read. Read extremely slowly, reflecting on a single phrase or a single sentence. Make sure you see the meaning of the sentence before proceeding to the next sentence. When reading, pause, stop, and look. Look within. Read the same verse 3 times before proceeding to the next verse. If the desire for freedom is not great enough in you, the ego will always find a way to occupy your time with something other than spiritual practice. Thus, the key to bringing the ego to an end is the intensity of the desire for freedom. Imagine someone being held underwater. How eager is he to rise to the surface to breathe air? Your desire for liberation must be as intense as that man's desire for air. Freedom must be as high on your list of priorities as air is on that man's list of priorities. How great and how intense is the desire for air for someone being held underwater? He would like to rise to the surface, but he's being held underwater. See how intense his desire is to rise to the surface so he can breathe air. Every second, his desire to rise to the surface becomes more and more intense. After 1 minute underwater, his desire to breathe is much more intense. After 2 minutes underwater, his desire to rise to the surface for oxygen is 10 times greater. After 3 minutes underwater, his desire to rise to the surface is 100 times greater. After 4 minutes underwater, his desire to rise to the surface is 1,000 times greater. How great and how intense is his desire? This is how great and how intense your desire for liberation must become. If you are going to succeed in your quest for eternal freedom, your desire for liberation must be super intense. If the extremely intense desire for freedom is not present, you can always find a way to avoid spiritual practice. If the extremely intense desire for freedom is not present, there is almost no limit to the ego's capacity to distort. Suppose there was a book written by an awakened sage that was 1,000 pages long, and the only words that were written were the following identical words repeated on every page. The only effective means to end the ego illusion is to turn your attention away from thought, the body, the world, people, places, things, experiences, etc., and turn your attention towards awareness, watching awareness. The only effective means to end the ego illusion is to turn your attention away from thought, the body, the world, people, places, things, experiences, etc., and turn your attention towards awareness, watching awareness. The only effective means to end the ego illusion is to turn your attention away from thought, the body, the world, people, places, things, experiences, etc., and turn your attention towards awareness, watching awareness. Take these words into your heart. This is from the Desire for Liberation, and it says Annamalai Swami, Nazir Gadatta, Muruganar, Sadhumu, Vashista, and Shankara. And maybe they knew something. Take it in. Take it into your heart. Be honest. Be earnest, sincere. And watch carefully what arises within you. I wish you, all of you, great success, all the very best, and see you next time. Keep with the practice. Commit yourself to practice, whatever practice resonates for you at this moment. And countless blessings to all of you. You can put your hands together and just close your eyes and just feel and be aware, be grateful, sense the vibration. Blessings your way and see you next time. Thank you very much.